All right, welcome to the first episode of the 2025-26 season of the Limitless podcast. I'm Les Collegian, and what's interesting about this interview is it's actually the sidekick getting interviewed for the first time. So this is Marc Gallo, my typical interview sidekick, and he owns Fides Wealth Strategies. We're going to try to get deep with him, and that's going to be the difference of the 2025-26 season. We're going to get vulnerable and see what's going on, but let's at least say welcome, Marc, and maybe start by telling us Fides Wealth, a little bit about you, and then we'll go from there.
Fides Wealth Strategies Group. Let's see, we were officially formed in 2014, but really the practice started back in 1997. Kind of when you start to build your practice and your client base and everything else along those lines. It's morphed from what would be your stereotypical insurance agency all the way into now what I consider to be a personal CFO, which is, at the end of the day, not the business CFO, but the personal. So, you have your business CFO that handles all your business affairs, and you have your personal, somebody to handle all of your personal affairs that usually works in concert with your business CFO.
So typically a company, maybe CEO or people within the company would hire you from a personal basis within that company. And you're not really handling the corporate finances. No. That's not your bailiwick.
No, I don't want any part of that. Oftentimes what happens, I look at this from the stance that a business owner's single greatest investment is their business.
Yeah.
Right? It's their single greatest investment. We need to make certain that investment is doing what your investment should do. It should perform.
Got it.
Personally. And so a lot of times it might mean that we have to go back and look at the way that the company is structured and the way that it's paying you to make certain that it's hitting all the goals that you need personally so that you can be financially independent one day.
Right. So it's truly a personal wealth management.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which I did not know that.
Yeah.
And how did you get into that side of it? Why did you decide to go that direction?
I started...
Most people don't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I started back in 1997, really kind of fell into a job.
Yeah.
And fell into a job because I was a 23-year-old punk kid, didn't know what to do with myself.
Right.
And I just started doing insurance, doing long-term care insurance. And over the years, people started saying, listen, I really like what you did for me on this. Can you take a look at my personal finances? And I didn't have any credentialing for it.
Right.
I didn't know the difference between a stock and a bond at the time.
Yeah.
And so it really took a lot of mentorship from people around me. My business partner and I have been together since 1997. Wow. He's a high school friend of mine.
Wow.
He was a water polo player. I was a football player. So we really didn't jive too well together.
Yeah. Yeah.
He liked to go to study and do a bunch of things I didn't like to do all
that. Right. You're more the partier, the football partier.
Well, what was great is, we had a lot of social things we did together. And we just always kind of jived.
Cool.
So
obviously you've been in business a long time, 97. That's great. Congrats on that. So you're successful. What are some of the mistakes? What are regrets you've had in the business? What are the challenges that, by the way, we all have them, right? Yeah. So what are some of the bigger challenges you've had to deal with, and maybe one regret that you wish you could change?
When you kind of enter into the industry, you tend to have to kind of sell your soul a bit to make the mortgage.
Got it. So define that a little more. Are you talking taking
commission base?
Yeah, or jobs you didn't want to take.
Yeah,
clients
you didn't want to take. You take commissions that you didn't want to take.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the end of the day, it makes you feel a little. I'm going to say the word dirty. It's not the right word to say.
Right.
There's nothing I ever did for anybody was really off base. It was never really pointed long term for me.
Right.
And I feel like you have to make short term decisions sometimes in order to make sure you're still around.
Yeah, well, I feel like I've done that as well. And it's nice to be able to say no, right? And so I don't know if you're at that point in your career. I feel like you are. Yeah. But again, when has that really burned you?
I think that it limited.
Or when did you learn to not do that?
Yeah, I honestly, I think I had to, because I made a transition in 2004 to fee-based. Which is basically getting away from the commission world.
Got it.
And doing more fee-based work. And at the same time, I had my twins. And at that time, my ex-wife was very much, she was working and she was paying the mortgage. And so in that whole iteration, that period, that was a financial disaster.
Yeah.
You go from, hey, I'm going to make 5% on all new assets I pick up to maybe 1%.
Right.
Which I'm not a math pro, but that's significantly less.
Right.
And I did a stint in management to try to make up the compensation differences. I regret that.
Okay.
I do regret that big time, because I really derailed me from what I needed to do on focusing on my practice and really trying to build it longer term.
Got it.
So I had to make some choices I felt in the short term that really affected me, I think, in the long term.
And how did they affect, what was the long-term effect?
It stunted my growth.
Got it.
Yeah, it stunted my growth. And I hate that part.
Can you go a little bit through that journey of growth, like where you started, where you are?
Yeah, I mean, golly.
And was it a roller coaster, or
For sure.
not necessarily a hockey stick, but was just a slow growth forward? Or
Well, if you think about the way that most people work in a sales atmosphere, it's a roller coaster, right? I always like to say it's top ramen and filet mignon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and so the months that are great, so
Filet.
yeah, it's filet,
Right.
and then followed up by a good clean up.
I feel like I have more ramen than filet.
Yeah.
Like this. I don't know why, but okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so you end up making sacrifices in that period, and honestly, I think that was disheartening for me. I mean, I hated the idea, which is weird. As a business owner, I wanted to have stability, and I strive for stability. But I'd be working till 7 o'clock at night. Making the calls, sitting across the dining room table with a couple, trying to make certain things are doing what they need to do.
Right.
And I regret. I would say I regret. I mean, I'm glad I did it, because that allowed me to be here today.
Sure.
But man, it really, it crushed my relationships. I feel like it really affected my ability to be with my kids.
Yeah.
Those type of things were really, I think, a tough period.
Right. What would you consider those, like maybe one of your bigger mistakes, or what would you say the largest mistake you've made that you really learned from, or taught you something about the business that might be helpful to somebody else, as from an experience share?
From experience, I mean, I leveraged everything.
Got it.
I leveraged everything. So in 2007, right, so at the beginning of the financial crisis, my ex-wife basically, and we were having our third child.
Right.
And we were in a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house in Claremont. And, we owned it, and we used all the equity from that home to be able to help this transition for me from commission base
Right.
to a fee base, right?
Right.
So that was how we were able to do that, and also allow her to stay at home with the kids.
Got it.
This didn't make sense, right? She made like $24,000 a year, and daycare for
Right.
3 kids was in excess of that.
Got it.
And so we used all the assets out of the home, and then she said, "Listen, with the third kid on the way, we really, we can't stay here. We need to move someplace bigger. We need this." And so I leveraged, and I used, we bought another house, and in that process, I had to go file bankruptcy.
Okay.
Because we were trying to sell our home in that process.
Right.
And we were trying to sell one home as we were going to another home, like most people do. And the housing market was slipping. Interest rates were going up, and it devastated me.
Got it.
Devastated.
Well, that sounds like a big sacrifice that you made, but it ended up being worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds like you made a sacrifice by having a leverage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But do you actually feel that was a mistake leveraging, because it actually kind of worked out?
It did work.
Right. Like,
It worked out.
yeah.
I mean, it's always like saying, "Oh, what's your biggest problem?" I'm too humble.
Right.
Right. It's not the point of this. I regret not trying to keep that place. I regret not doing anything else to try to keep it. It's a nasty eye to have a bankruptcy in your record as a financial planner.
That is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I could tell you, the pivot from that is I've learned to help others advise. I think so much about what we do in our industry is behavioral.
Yeah.
And going through that process and having that strife in my life has enabled me to be able to connect with people that are in a financial crisis in their own way. And it allows me to be able to kind of connect with them a little bit better and say, "I've been here. I understand where you're at.
Right.
This is the way to get." And I think,
and advise against it, hopefully,
for sure. Or honestly, there's been some like you should probably just hit a bankruptcy and get the hell out of there.
You're right. Okay.
And so, I think that's most advisors don't get into that space, right? I mean, it's interesting enough, the cobbler's son in this world always has the worst shoes.
Right. Yeah.
And I think our industry is probably very similar.
Yeah.
On the bottom 40 or 50%, probably in that space big time.
Yeah. Well, so I think of painful mistakes, like one that, like, I absolutely, for me, I took a hard money loan to make a $250,000 payroll.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Huge mistake.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'll never do that again.
Right.
And when you're dealing with in your industry, are there items or things that you're dealing with that where you're making these decisions and something you'll just never do again? Just curious.
Yeah. I mean, the management was a big one for me because
Okay.
I felt like it really had stopped my growth.
Okay.
You know, when we have to spend a bunch of time working with people that are newer in the industry, trying to help get them on process, it really stunted my growth.
Right.
Probably for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And honestly, the only thing I ended up sacrificing big time there was my time with my kids and my growth in my practice.
Well, that's obviously a huge one, right?
Yeah.
And everyone wishes they could spend more time with their family, right? Okay. What's the biggest challenge you're currently facing in business? I mean, especially these days with the rates and all that jazz.
You know, the money side of it, I hate to say it's simple now. I feel like we've coached our clients through the money aspects of things pretty well. The biggest problem is process and people.
Yeah.
Making certain that the process is right internally. I went from servicing like 160 households down to 30.
Got it.
So I don't get to do the things I love to do anymore.
Right.
You know, one of the things I love, I think what has driven me so heavy in this industry is meeting with clients and really solving problems. And I don't get to do that anymore because I'm the choke point.
Yeah.
And so I have to coach my team. And
how big is that team real quick?
Right now we have, it's myself and my partner, and then we have five associates.
Okay. And how many clients is each associate roughly servicing?
Probably 100 each.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
How is that for customer service? Are they able to really keep up with that level? Or
it's really good.
Yeah.
Industry-wise, it's really good.
Okay. Yeah, not in mine. I'd go nuts.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and 100's pretty good. I feel like the team is handling it really well. But again, the biggest struggle is the process. As the team grows, we've had rapid growth over the last couple of years, and making certain we have the right players in place. And again, this is any business owner in any context.
Sure.
It's always the people in the process at the end of the day.
100%.
And so it's just getting that process. And we've grown. I've never run a company this size. I've never run ops for a company this size.
Right.
And so all of a sudden you're thrust into it. Like, by the way, you're now running ops for a team that's twice as big as you've ever run before.
Yeah.
And it's not as simple as it used to be. It used to be you have one assistant and you go, hey, get this done, and everything gets done. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah. So what's the it's like I've known you for a while now.
Yeah.
And we've actually got to hang out a little more recently.
I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. What would be what do you think the biggest misconception people have about you, if there is one? If they don't know you.
I feel like I'm pretty lighthearted about stuff, and I think people don't see the serious side. I even think my team goes through it. I know that my role in the firm, obviously, being a managing partner is important, but I'm also in charge of the culture.
Yeah.
And I tend to have a pretty jovial kind of.
That's how I know you.
Yeah.
Right.
Is pretty loud and.
Can he be serious?
Right. And so people don't see it the minute the door closes, the client's in there, how engaged I go and deep and really run into it.
Right.
And I think some people on the board have seen it, with me. Like,
right.
Hey, when it's rubber hits the road, where's it going to get done? It's going to get done with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do like to kind of let people know I'm clutch. Like, if it needs to get done, it gets done.
Yeah.
And so that part, I don't think people see. They see I'm kind of just loud and, loud guy. Coming from you, it's
yeah, the ultimate in loud guys.
Yeah,
right. Going, wow, this guy's loud.
Yeah, this guy's.
He's got me beat.
He's got a lot of energy.
Yeah, UGA. Who knows? Like,
yeah.
We could have a one of those those contests, the decibel contests.
Exactly right.
What do you think the most valuable lesson? I think that maybe whether it was an EO or anywhere from just any person, what lesson? Something that you consider like, man, holy crap, this one really nailed it for me. Do you have any you can come to mind?
A term that resonates with me a lot lately, my good friend Dan Yates, he brought to my attention, he said the phrase, the role of a CEO changes every time a company's revenue doubles. Mm-hmm. And eventually it doubles to a point to where you can no longer be the CEO. You're not qualified to be the CEO.
Right.
And that resonated with me.
Yeah.
That was a big one. And then also another one that I took away from an EO moment was when we had, I can't remember, I think Creating Giants, the speaker, he worked on hedge funds.
Okay.
And trying to position your company for a hedge fund. And he used my company or my model as an example. And he said, listen, when a hedge fund comes in to buy a company like yours, they'll sit down with your top 10 clients and say, if you have a problem, who do you call?
Right.
If they say your name, you lose points.
Wow.
If they say a person's name on your team, they lose points.
Right.
If they say a department, you win.
Right.
And that stuck with me as well. I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
I really do have to make myself replaceable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree with that. The whole, there does get to be a point where you're out of your element, right? And, and that's perhaps one of the best things, from EO that I've gotten is just understanding the importance of coaching and mentorship, and, I don't know, for me, I always was like, how could you coach me if you don't know my business? Like if you're not an agency owner, how would you be able to do that? And it took me a long time to realize that it doesn't matter. And a great business coach. Have you had any business coaches or mentors?
I've had industry specific,
Which is fine too.
Yeah, I've had industry specific coaches. I've never gone away from industry as a coach. The thing is, I've grown up in a fairly unique situation to where I've always been a part of an agency. Whether it's when I first started with John Hancock, right, and they had a whole agency, and it was like they called it a fast start program.
Yeah,
you do this many dials to this list, you set this many appointments, you'll go on this many meetings.
Right. Speaking of process,
yeah. And it was like just say the words,
right?
Say the words, monkey, and go. And that was it. And so I learned, and so I've always been in a incubator of sorts of agencies. Until my partner and I broke off and did our own thing, and we actually ended up creating our own agency with a bunch of other firms into our shop as well.
Yeah.
Just purely for the ability to have a think tank of people in the same space. So I'm not really answering your question, but I mean, I've had professional coaches on my side, but I think it's because I've been in an agency system so much that I haven't really looked outside. One of the reasons it brought me to EO is to get me outside the box.
Okay.
I want to think differently. And quite honestly, that's probably one of the biggest things I've gotten out of EO. That's the idea of thinking outside the box into, in my forum, for an example, I've got a guy that does concrete manufacturing. It's like
nothing to deal with you.
Nothing, but I've learned so much from him.
Process. Right. Well, and that's, I think, mostly where you realize that you don't have to have a business coach within the system, within the system of your specific business. And I also agree with that. Like, one of the things, and, not to get, when I've learned from 26-year-olds and 70-year-olds all the way through, and everyone's got a different take on something. Yeah. And it's fascinating, and it really helps you control like the direction of where you're moving, and sometimes even slowing down and just, smelling the roses for a second and not making just those quick decision mistakes and thinking through it. And I think that like from a lesson standpoint, hopefully the coaching that, has gone for you and obviously built your team.
I definitely force myself and my partner to take a step back sometimes and go, dude, take a step back.
Right.
Look at
what's the rush here.
Yeah. Here you built. Let's enjoy it for a minute.
Yeah.
We don't have to run through the finish line.
Right. Celebrate the wins.
We can moonwalk through it. Yeah. Let's moonwalk through the finish line. And so those kind of things constantly come in. But the idealism of if you're not growing, you're dying also stays.
Has anything super embarrassing ever happened to you in business?
I mean, the bankruptcy was a pretty embarrassing thing.
I guess that makes sense.
That's a disclosure event for me.
Right.
Literally any kind of brochures, things that I have to send out for documentation, labeled.
It's like,
it was on there it had to be on.
You have to knock on the doors and say that you've been with children type of thing. And
I'm up to done now. No, it was really bad.
Yeah.
And it was embarrassing at the time. I didn't realize what kind of embarrassment that would bring. I just knew I was, between a rock and a hard place.
Did it really slow? Were people, when they heard that?
Yeah.
Were they turned off immediately? Or did you just overcome it? Which obviously you overcame it.
Yeah.
But at the time, did it lose business for you?
I don't know if it lost business because, again, it's one of the situations. No one ever, came in and was like, "Oh, I was going to work with you."
But okay,
yeah, no one ever did that. But I think it was always in the background for me.
Yeah.
And then when I go to industry things, it's like if people get curious about who you are,
yeah.
They look you up on broker check and they'll see right there on broker check like, "Oh, he's got reported this," and so I mean that was a bummer,
right?
But again, I feel like I've got a lot more respect for money and also debt because of it.
Yeah. Well, it was a learning lesson, obviously, right? And that's kind of what we got to before. It was one of those, it's one of the hardest lessons to learn.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes lessons are expensive.
Yeah. Hey, well, you know, look, you can learn them the easy way or the hard way. And sometimes the hard way is more effective.
Yeah.
Because you'll like, wow, I'll never do that again. You know,
And again, in the world that we, as an entrepreneur, it's top ramen filet mignon. It teaches you to respect the top ramen days.
yeah.
Like, okay, I can't spend the way I should. And then also it puts into context the filet mignon days. Like, maybe it shouldn't be filet mignon. Maybe it should just be a sirloin,
Right.
and save some money for the rainy day.
What do you think? We'll start to close down, I think, in a little bit, but what do you think that the most important thing you've learned about yourself through all this is? And I'll also add, like, what would you as a child say about yourself?
Yeah.
Like, what have you learned and where have you gone?
Things that drive me. I think about my family. I think about where I came from. My parents.
Which is where, please?
So I'm born and raised in San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah, born and raised in San Diego.
I
I went to Grossmont High School. And my parents are financial shit shows.
Uh-huh. As were mine.
Yeah. And so I see that as a legacy problem. I firmly believe that people learn about money through their parents. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that learn how to handle money, how to deal with it. And I can tell you one of the driving forces in my life is to make certain that I break that curse.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I got into finance.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, you're really breaking the curse.
Yeah. I'm really breaking the curse. Right.
You're
Exactly. I'm really going for it. And I can tell you probably some of the strongest things that I've given to my children is, it sounds stupid, but a good credit score.
Yeah.
Like the importance of a good credit score.
Right.
The importance of
using other people's money.
Yeah. It's just, again, you understand. I mean, if you've got a 500 credit score,
you're not getting anything.
You're not getting anything. Or if you are, you're paying hard money rates.
Sure.
And so for me, a legacy and the things that I've been trying to provide is breaking that financial curse for my family.
It's so funny. I am literally in the exact same boat as you, and I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
That's a learning lesson for me because my mother was no credit cards, just cash, and never had money, like broke all the time.
Right.
And we had to move places because we couldn't afford it and this and that, and
Absolutely.
had nothing to do with, I had no training,
Yeah.
and I never, and I find myself doing the same with my son. Like, it's how important it is to get credit cards. Don't spend all on, only have 25%, pay it off, those types of things just to get a good credit score. Yeah. And I never really put it that way, that how important it is that how you're taught that makes a difference.
You're taught
in the business.
Yeah, you're taught how you use money. Personally. And I say my biggest takeaway, is again, just taking a look at where I was, and again, to go through and go, oh, wow, I'm at the bank, bankruptcy at this point. I'm like, oh my God, I'm my parents.
Yeah.
I have to fix this.
Right. You actually fell into your parents' shit show.
Yeah.
And then, but you worked your way out of it.
Yeah. I think that what I've learned through the process is that I'm a lot more resilient than I ever thought I was. The child in me, I don't think I ever thought I was going to do something like this.
Right.
Again, I fell into this. Literally, it was my business partner had come to me. He had a brand new jet ski and a brand new car. And I was like, what are you doing? Yeah. And he goes, I'm doing this finance stuff. I'm like, do you think I could do it? Yeah. So I fall into it. Like every other business owner that goes through this process, you fall into it. And I never envisioned myself this way. I envisioned myself like a firefighter or,
right.
My dad was a mechanic, and it was like, this is what I'll do. Or maybe the military. I didn't have any envision that I'd be running a financial planning firm and,
right.
Exiting and all these other things, and just mind blowing to me.
Right.
It just was never it. So, I mean, I think my big takeaway would be like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did it.
Yeah, you did it.
Good for you.
Yeah. And so that would be my, my childhood self kind of looking at it.
Yeah. That's who knew?
Yeah. I didn't know you had that kind of skill level. Okay, cool.
All right. So then let's do this. So we can wrap up with this final question, and I'll say, and this is a Dan Sullivan style coaching question.
Okay.
Which is, if I were to meet you 3 years from today,
yeah,
and what is the trajectory of your business, or what you think is going to happen, and where do you want to be?
My where I want to see myself, need to see myself, is really touching the business from an ops standpoint, but not owning it.
Okay.
And I want to be back into sitting down with clients.
So right, you enjoy the
if you think about it from the stance of what fills your battery,
yeah,
sitting in front of clients, interacting with them, my people.
Right.
I want to be doing more of that. And I want to be doing more of that side of it than the actual ops and the managing of people. Right. If I can have somebody in to do that kind of stuff,
yeah,
it'd be amazing.
Yeah, you should sit with me. If you could turn me around, I'll know you're really good at what you're doing. Yeah. I'll know you're really good.
I'm not. I am not Harry Potter or.
yeah. You need a magician for me. I promise. So, Marc Gallo, Fides Wealth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you
Thank you
for doing this, and you'll be seeing a lot more of Marc because we'll be doing more interviews together for other EO members. So, thanks, and see you next time.